Hello everyone. Imagine waking up one morning to discover that an entire town, the one you had grown up in, had simply vanished overnight. No signs of struggle, no missing persons reports, nothing, just gone. Roads remain empty, houses stand abandoned, and not a single soul walks the streets. The story I am about to tell you takes us deep into the mystery of Eldridge Hollow, a village that existed for centuries and then disappeared in a way that defies logic, leaving behind only whispers, rumors, and chilling theories. Eldridge Hollow was not a large town. Nestled between dense forests and rolling hills, it had always been somewhat isolated, which only added to its charm. The villagers were known for their hospitality, and outsiders rarely came. But those who did were struck by an uncanny atmosphere that seemed just a little off, though none could ever put their finger on why. Streets were lined with cobblestones, and the town square boasted a clock tower that had ticked for over 100 years. Life moved slowly, and the townspeople lived in close, knit harmony, until the night everything changed. It began with the disappearance of small animals. Residents reported seeing dogs, cats, and even livestock vanish mysteriously. Some claimed to hear strange sounds in the forest, whispers, footsteps, or faint laughter carried by the wind. At first, these incidents were dismissed as local folklore or the results of overactive imaginations, but the tension grew. The clock in the town square began to malfunction, stopping precisely at 3:17 a.m., and strange lights were spotted in the sky, hovering over the forest's edge. One resident, a man named Thomas Halberd, documented these occurrences meticulously. His journals, later found scattered across his empty home, revealed a series of increasingly terrifying events. Doors that had been locked the night before were found wide open. Items moved themselves from room to room. Mirrors reflected scenes that didn't exist. Thomas wrote about shadows that seemed to stretch longer than they should, always appearing just out of the corner of one's eye. Many dismissed him as paranoid, but the reality proved far stranger. On the night of June 17th, everything changed. Residents reported hearing an unearthly hum that resonated through the village. It started as a low vibration, almost imperceptible, but quickly grew louder, shaking windows and rattling doors. Thomas Halberd wrote that the air felt thick, almost like it had weight, and that a fog rolled in from the surrounding forest unlike any natural mist. The fog was dense, clinging to the ground and creeping through every crack in the buildings. People describe it as an unnatural, almost liquid fog that seemed to swallow sound itself. Then, as the clock struck 3:17 a.m., Eldridge Hollow disappeared. Or at least, that is how it appears in the records and testimonies that survived. Witnesses outside the town claimed that when they looked back after the fog lifted, the village was gone. Houses, streets, the clock tower, all vanished. Some say the ground itself swallowed the village. Others argue that it was as if the town had been plucked from reality entirely, leaving nothing behind. Investigators arrived days later, but they found nothing. No footprints, no debris, no evidence that anyone had ever lived there. Satellite images, oddly enough, showed a blank stretch of forest where the town had been. Maps no longer included Eldridge Hollow, and yet it persisted in memory and folklore. Thomas Halberd's journals were the only tangible proof that the village had existed, and they raised more questions than answers. Scholars and paranormal experts have theorized wildly about what happened. Some believe that Eldridge Hollow was caught in a time anomaly, a rift that transported it to another dimension or timeline. Others suggest that the village had angered some ancient force, a guardian spirit of the forest that decided the town's fate. More skeptical researchers argue that a mass hallucination or collective psychological phenomenon could have led witnesses to believe the town existed, though this explanation cannot account for physical evidence like Halberd's journals. Even more disturbing are the reports from travelers passing near the former location. Some claim to see flickering lights, hear laughter or cries, and even catch glimpses of villagers moving through the mist, as if frozen in time, trapped between dimensions. The forest around the area is now avoided, even by locals, who whisper that those who enter sometimes never return, or if they do, they come back, changed. And then there are the artifacts. Thomas Halberd's journals contained strange symbols that no linguist has been able to fully decode. Certain pages, when exposed to moonlight, revealed faint markings that glowed eerily, forming patterns that suggested some kind of map or portal instructions. Paranormal investigators who studied these symbols reported feeling an overwhelming sense of dread, a psychic pull that some described as the village calling them. As with many mysteries, Eldridge Hollow is shrouded in conflicting accounts. Some claim that residents were transported to a parallel reality. Others insist that the village still exists, hidden in a pocket dimension, visible only under certain conditions. There are even rumors that occasionally at night, travelers hear the sound of the town clock ticking or catch the smell of baking bread and smoke from chimneys, even though nothing stands there anymore. No definitive explanation exists. Historians, scientists, and paranormal enthusiasts continue to debate, but the truth remains elusive. What happened to Eldridge Hollow might never be fully understood, but one thing is certain. The story of a town vanishing overnight continues to haunt those who learn of it, a chilling reminder that reality may hold secrets far stranger than we dare imagine. And that's just the beginning. In the years following the disappearance of Eldridge Hollow, the area where the village once stood has become a focal point for both curiosity and fear. Modern explorers, equipped with cameras, drones, and night vision devices, have attempted to uncover what happened. Some report capturing fleeting shadows moving between the trees, shapes that vanish when approached, and inexplicable cold spots that drop the temperature dramatically in localized areas. Others describe hearing disembodied voices calling their names or the distant toll of the town clock, even though nothing remains but a stretch of empty forest. One particularly chilling account comes from Dr. Elise Warren, a paranormal researcher who led a small team into the forest near the former location of Eldridge Hollow. She recorded hours of video footage, most of which showed nothing, until the very last moments. In a brief flickering frame, structures resembling houses appear, shimmering as if seen through water. Figures move past the windows, indistinct but undeniably human. Dr. Warren describes the sensation as walking through a memory that refuses to let go. Her team reported hearing whispers in languages none of them recognized, as though the forest itself was communicating. Local folklore adds another layer of complexity. Eldridge Hollow had long been associated with legends of the Veiled Ones, mysterious entities said to inhabit the forest and guard its secrets. Villagers believed that these beings were neither fully human nor fully spirit, existing in the liminal space between worlds. Stories told of people wandering too far into the woods and returning changed, their eyes blank, speaking in riddles, or claiming to have glimpsed the true village, a place where time loops endlessly. Skeptics argue that the combination of isolation, psychological suggestion, and environmental factors could account for many of the phenomena. They point to Thomas Halbert's journals as possible works of fiction, written by a man whose imagination ran wild in solitude. Yet, these explanations falter when confronted with physical evidence. The journals themselves, the recorded anomalous phenomena, and the consistent reports of inexplicable events by independent witnesses. Even seasoned investigators admit that something unusual, something outside conventional understanding, occurred. One of the most intriguing aspects of Eldridge Hollow's mystery is the recurring pattern of disappearances and sightings. Every few years, people report temporary glimpses of the village, lights flickering in the distance, doors appearing where there should be none, or structures that seem to materialize and vanish. Psychics and mediumship practitioners claim that the village exists in a parallel dimension, a shadow version of reality that occasionally overlaps with our own. According to this theory, the Vanishing Village has not been destroyed. It has merely slipped between layers of existence. Further complicating the mystery is the discovery of objects from Eldridge Hollow in seemingly impossible locations. Items documented in Halbert's journals, such as a clock hand from the town tower and fragments of personal belongings, have appeared miles away in forests, abandoned houses, or even in urban areas. Some researchers suggest that these artifacts are evidence of temporal displacement or dimensional leakage, where remnants of the town cross over into our reality intermittently. The psychological impact on those who have encountered traces of Eldridge Hollow cannot be overstated. Many report a profound sense of disorientation, as if time itself has shifted. Dreams become vivid and prophetic, filled with streets, sounds, and conversations from a place that should not exist. A few individuals have claimed that the village calls to them, urging them to return to the forest again and again. Some succumb to obsession, spending years searching, documenting, or attempting to enter the village, only to disappear without a trace themselves. Among these stories is the account of Michael Trent, a journalist who documented his expedition near the site. He recounted following a faint, glowing path through the fog, seeing glimpses of figures moving along streets that no longer exist. Suddenly, the forest seemed to fold in on itself, and he found himself standing outside the perimeter, as if expelled from the village by some unseen force. His video footage captured fleeting glimpses of windows and doorways where none should have been, along with the low hum that many have described over the years. Another layer of mystery emerges from the natural environment itself. Trees near the former village site grow in unnatural patterns, with roots that seem to weave into impossible shapes and branches that stretch unnaturally toward the ground. Animals avoid the area, and even birds refuse to fly over it. Environmental scientists who have studied the region report that compasses spin erratically, and GPS devices frequently malfunction, as if the land itself resists being charted or understood. The disappearance of Eldridge Hollow has inspired countless theories, some rooted in science and others in the supernatural. From parallel dimensions and time loops to vengeful spirits and ancient guardians, the village exists as a puzzle that refuses to be solved. Yet, perhaps the most unsettling idea is that the village continues to exist in a state of frozen reality, a living memory trapped between what is and what could have been. Despite the passage of decades, the fascination with Eldridge Hollow remains strong. Documentaries, books, and online communities debate endlessly, each attempting to explain the unexplainable. And yet, the village remains silent, its secrets guarded by fog, forest, and the faint echoes of a clock that stopped ticking long ago. Those who have explored the site most recently warn of the danger of seeking answers. The village, it seems, is not merely missing. It is selective in what it reveals. Some see fragments of it, others hear whispers or catch shadows in the corner of their eyes, but few leave unscathed. Eldridge Hollow's story serves as a chilling reminder. Some mysteries are not meant to be solved. Some places are not meant to be found. And some vanishing points remain permanent, a haunting testament to forces beyond human comprehension. And so, the Vanishing Village continues to captivate our imagination, a story of disappearance, dimension, and the uncanny. It challenges everything we believe about reality and leaves us questioning. If a village can vanish without a trace, what else might be slipping silently out of our world, hidden in the corners where our senses fail, waiting for the moment to reappear? Eldridge Hollow may be gone, but it has left an imprint on those who dare to remember. And as long as the stories are told, the village lives, not in maps or photographs, but in our minds, a mystery that beckons, a place forever caught between the known and the unknowable. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this journey into the unexplained, make sure to subscribe to Moon Cipher for more stories that blur the line between reality and the mysterious. Stay curious, and never stop questioning the shadows around you.